Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to lesson 3 of the MyListing 101 course. In this lesson, we're going to look at all things related to colors, whether it's the color scheme or setting our global colors throughout the various aspects of a MyListing website. That could be within Elementor settings, within CSS, and so on and so forth. Okay, up on my screen is the agenda for today. And to start off, we're going to talk about the previous lesson real quick, which was simply to install WordPress core or, set those strong base configurations in WordPress core, get the MyListing parent theme installed, get the MyListing child theme installed and activated, get our core set of plugins in there, just the ones we need to get started. Okay, so that's a recap of the last video or the last lesson. And video. Since the last lesson, the only thing that has changed on the site is I went in and I installed and activated Elementor Pro and WPCodeBox. That's only because we need those for this lesson. Again, following my best practice recommendation is only install the plugins you absolutely need as you go along. Especially on your live site. Don't just go installing willy-nilly plugins here and there. Okay, be very cognizant of the plugins you're installing. I'm installing Elementor Pro and WPCodeBox because I know for a fact those are going to stay on my site forever. Okay, I'm not saying that you have to only put plugins that are going to stay on your site forever and you have to know 1000% sure that's the case. Just make sure that you are fairly confident that it's going to be a long-term solution before it ever touches your live site. Try your best. Okay, all right. Back to our agenda, let's look at we're going to look at color scheme. We're going to look at the Elementor global color settings. And then lastly, we'll look at our CSS global colors, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove the agenda here and let's go ahead and dive in. So this is exactly where we left off with the MyListing project template. And color scheme is our next task card here, okay? So let me go ahead and just allow me to quickly read through some of this. This task is placed towards the very beginning of the project because your color scheme will influence many areas. Color schemes communicate the message behind the design on both visual and psychological levels. It's one of the most important elements because when used correctly, color can reflect the niche and even the overall business marketing strategy. If you're a client of mine and you had this project template, or if you have this project template and you're helping a client build their website, this is where you would ask them to provide their color scheme, and then I give you some of my recommended tools here. First step here is real-time colors. A really neat, powerful solution. So you can come in here and you can start down here at the bottom plugging in your ideas that you have for your various colors. Another thing you can do if you need some inspiration is you can click this little dice icon down here. It's going to just start randomizing the colors and give you some ideas. Okay. What you can then do once you find, something that you sort of like, you can then riff on that. Okay. Canvas has a blue color scheme. So let's just go until we find something. Okay. Let's just pretend like this was something we wanted to start with. Okay. That looks pretty good right off the bat. And you could roll with that. But if you want to slightly adjust, you can go into each of these items down here and adjust these. There's even a dark and a light mode toggle, so you can see how it would look if you went the dark mode route. Okay. You can undo your changes. It's just a really cool thing to do here. And then there is a share link option. So once you build this as you want, you can then share it with whoever. All right. Or you can just copy a link for yourself, just for your own records to have that. You can also adjust your fonts here if you want, the headings and the body, and then you can mess with type scale. Okay, really cool stuff. We're going to get into typography later, but definitely a really cool thing here. And then the next tool here is color space, and this is if you want to get into doing gradients. Another free tool, super powerful. You can get palettes if you want to get again, randomized. You can just, here you go, down here, and it's going to give you all these different these inspirations. But if you want to put in like a color, so if I'm going to use I'm going to use Canvas's accent color here just to punch this in, show you an example. If I punch this in and say generate, it's going to take that base color and it's going to, you see here on the far left side here, it's going to inject that in, okay? And it's going to start with that color and just build from there, okay? So the other thing you can do is go to gradients. Like I said, by default, it's going to give you a 2-color gradient, but you can switch over to a 3-color gradient really easily. Punch in your main colors, and then down here, it's going to spit out the CSS code that you need to add to your website to get that gradient look. And you can change the direction of your gradient. So once you change the direction, so here I chose down, and then click generate again, and it's going to regenerate. Now it's just go up. So we're going to flip this and say generate, and that puts that pink color at the bottom. So a really, really cool tool for generating your gradients. Okay, so that is it. Those are the resources. Obviously, I've gone through this when I built Canvas and I came up with my color scheme. So that is already set, okay? So we're gonna actually mark this as complete. Going back to our agenda, I said that we would do the color scheme, which we've done. And then next up, once we have that color scheme, we need to define that in our website, right? So first up would be Elementor global colors. You could also just go straight to your CSS, but we're just gonna do this in this order just because I have it listed that way. Now, while the Elementor site settings, this task right here is further down. What we're doing here is part of this task card, okay? Right here, we see the very first subtask in here is configure global colors, okay? So that's actually what we're doing there. So I'm gonna actually move this over here to in progress. This is the one we're gonna be working on, is setting those global colors, okay? As we say here in this task card, global colors, with your color scheme in hand, which we have hypothetically, I know, the Canvas color scheme, it's time to set your global colors in Elementor. Below are some benefits of utilizing Elementor's global color feature. Consistency, no more guessing what your colors or shades of colors are. Basically, once you set them, then you have those in your Elementor side panel to pull from at all times. You don't have to keep guessing what you use, right? Faster workflow. When working with elements, your color scheme will be at your fingertips. Again, you set it in one place, it's always going to be there for you at your fingertips. Performance. Elementor-based websites perform better when colors are globally set. So what that means is we set these global colors instead of you just poke around your website and you're like, oh, I changed this button to red. I changed this button again to what I think my red color is. And I go and I set this other button and this other font and this other heading and this other text. And you're just, instead of setting it globally, you're just picking and choosing what you set your colors at, and that's not the most performant way to do it. You want to set it globally, right? Okay, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and set this up. All right, so we need a page, right? We need a page to get to the Elementor settings. And so I'm going to go over to my pages, and we'll just go ahead and work with the home page here. So let's just edit that with WordPress. And then we need to click on this edit with Elementor button at the top. That gets us into our editor. I'm going to just get rid of this Elementor AI notification. One of the things that I set just personally is I go into this top left little hamburger menu. I like to go in there and configure my preferences real quick. So I go under settings and then user preferences. And I like to change the theme to dark. I'm a dark mode person because it just works better with my eyes. So in case a lot of people don't even know that's an option. So you can go in there and do that. Everything else in here, I just leave as default unless I have a good reason to turn it off. So I'm just going to click update there. And then we're going to get back to our editor. So we have no content here. We're going to build the homepage together in the future, but I just need to get to my settings panel, which is open up over here. So we're going to go back into that little hamburger menu. And this time, instead of user preferences, we're going to go into site settings. Okay. And global colors, this very top option is what we want. Click into that. Elementor by default includes a style guide. So this is a nice handy tool for seeing how your site's going to look as far as colors and fonts. So you can leave that on or toggle it off, totally up to you. Okay, we'll just go ahead and leave that on for now. I'm going to pull up Canvas in another window here and allow me just a second here to pull up a page. That is pulling up. And I am now in my site settings and global color. So all I've done in my other screen is I've just pulled up this side panel here. We're going to fill this in. So what I've done is I just go here to the primary color, and I turn that off, and I turn off secondary, text. Now all I leave is the accent here. Okay. And my accent color, I'm going to punch in. That is the accent color, okay? And then we can go ahead and save our changes here just in case, you lose your internet connection or whatever, and you don't want to lose your I find with Elementor to save your changes like all the time. You make a couple changes, save. A couple changes, save. I mean, just save all the time because their revision history can sometimes be flaky, especially if you try to use like Control-Z on a Windows machine, like to undo. I've found that it could really wreak havoc and undo literally all of your changes that you made. Like it's just not good. So make very frequent backups is the moral of the story there. Okay, so at this point, if you were trying to replicate this starter site on yourself, I would go out and I would just get the style kit that's available for Canvas and download that to your workstation and then import that in. I'm not going to go over right now how to do that, but that's how I would do it. That's the fastest way to replicate this if you were doing it on your own. It's going to pull in everything, all of the global colors, everything you see, all of this stuff here in the side panels is going to automatically come in. So that's available on the club website if you're interested, okay? But we're going to put in some of the main colors here. Next up is we're going to click Add Color. And we're just going to call this one Canvas Black. And we're just going to use just pure black. Now, for accessibility reasons, you may want to explore this further. For example, I kept it simple on this. This is going to be fine in most cases, right? Like on the MyListing Club website itself, I chose a black color of hex of 111111. So just straight ones all across instead of zeros. Okay. There are some accessibility professionals and recommendations that you might want to look at as far as what the right color of black is to set. Again, because I call this starter site canvas, it's meant to be a blank canvas and not be as opinionated. So I just went with straight black there. Okay. Next up, we're going to do canvas white. And again, think about the accessibility thing. I went straight white here because we are talking about a blank canvas website. All right. I'm just going to put in the main colors and we'll figure this out as we go. Gray. So this is like a lighter gray color that it's used a lot. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else I want to put in here. There's a lot of different shades, which we'll get to when we look at the CSS variables. I'm trying to think if there's anything just like dire importance right now that we need to get into. I mainly just want to show you like the process, okay? So I think that's good for now. Let's go ahead and click update here. Now, there's one other thing I believe we need to do. So we need to go back a level here on our site settings. We're going to go to typography. And we're going to set our link color here. So under link, we're going to choose that accent color. Okay. And for this starter site, again, I kept it simple. It's a blank canvas for the most part. I did not do a hover color. I did not get into that complication on this particular starter site. So Totally up to you what you want to do there. Again, accessibility professionals will sometimes tell you, if not always, you just do your research on accessibility and do what you want to do there. But there is an argument to be made that links should not only change colors, but they should also change the decoration. So like maybe it should be underlined, and then maybe the underline changes with a slight animation or a slight color change. Look at that. Do your own research there. Google it. Accessibility for underline, for link text and things like that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click update there. And I believe that is it for our global colors for Elementor. It's that simple. Now, like I said, I've got a lot more shades of colors in here that I'm pulling in. We'll get to that as we go along if we need to, but I wanted to show you how this was set. All right, so next up, we need to define our CSS color scheme, okay? And what I mean by that is MyListing, unfortunately, you need CSS, right? And it's not just MyListing. I shouldn't say that. It's not just the MyListing theme that you experience this with. You need to add CSS, right? Pretty much every website. There's just areas of MyListing that require quite a bit of CSS to get it to look exactly the way you want and to be able to style certain areas. What we'll find throughout this lesson or this course is that there are MyListing widgets, Elementor widgets, that don't have a lot of style options, and you have to apply CSS. Luckily, I've built a ton of those. They're called CSS packages, and they're available from the club website. So they help you in those areas. Okay, so we've done the CSS side of things, global colors on Elementor side. So we're going to jump over into WPCodeBox. And I've got a video on this already, so we're not going to dive crazy deep into this. But let me pull up WPCodeBox on the Canvas site. By default, Canvas operates in light mode. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick to that. Okay. So what I did was, and if you're not familiar with WPCodeBox, I've got all kinds of resources on it. It is my favorite code snippet plugin out there. I very rarely say that something is the best because it's just subjective, but this is one of those things that I can say is the best code snippet plugin on the market. Okay. I can confidently say that. All right. So, but you use whatever you want to use. It doesn't have to be WPCodeBox. You can use the WordPress customizer for free if you want. There's other code snippets plugins out there that are free. Give those a shot if you want. You don't have to use WPCodeBox. WPCodeBox is a partner of the club. Full transparency. I offer a deal for WPCodeBox through the club, but it's literally what I use on every site. It's recommending something that I use myself. Okay, enough of that. So what we want to do here is I'm just going to create a folder. I'm just going to call this CSS. We'll just keep this CSS. On the actual Canvas starter site, I called this CSS light mode because I created light and dark mode versions of everything. You know what? Screw it. We're going to just follow the same. Because we're probably going to get into dark mode stuff, right? So let's just do this. Part of the reason, or not part of the reason, one of the benefits of doing this course is the Canvas starter site customers, existing customers, or potential customers are greatly going to benefit from this lesson because we're literally rebuilding this starter site from scratch. So it makes sense to just duplicate everything, right? Okay, so we've got our CSS light mode folder there. We now want to create a new snippet. We're going to call this Global Light Mode. And we're going to set the type to be CSS. And we're going to set where to run the snippet. We're going to run it in the front end footer. This is an important piece because the way that the CSS needs to apply to work with MyListing, Elementor, and WooCommerce, and etc., it has to go into the footer for it to be all but guaranteed that it's going to take hold and overwrite what it needs to overwrite, set what it needs to set, and that sort of thing. Now there's an option here where to render the CSS. inline or external files is where most of us want to think about here. This one's kind of fuzzy here. If you can inline the CSS, I'm not going to get into what that is. You can Google it and whatever, but to go in, I'm not going to go super into depth. The basics of it is it's going to inject that code right into the page. Okay. It's going to put it right in there. And that's typically not a problem if you don't have a crap ton of CSS. I forget what the exact value is of kilobytes, that once it gets to a certain amount of kilobytes of data, like they want you to put that into this, which is the external file option. Okay. And what that does is it creates a separate CSS file that can then be cached because it's a bigger file. You want to cache it and then serve it that way. So some say that if you just jump straight to an external file, if it's a small CSS, small amount of CSS, you're not going to see any gains, but you just got to test for yourself. I typically just do external file right off the bat. It's totally up to you what you want to do there. So I'm just going to keep it in line here. And you know what? We'll go external file because that's what I have on the starter site. We'll just stay consistent. Okay, so there you go. That is our code snippet created, but we need to add the actual code, right? So again, in this video, we're just going to focus on the colors, setting our global colors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy and paste. Like I said, I've got a video on this already where I go into depth. I'm going to paste this in and we're going to just briefly talk about it. So I pasted that in and I hit enabled. So our code snippet's enabled. Now, when we were over here in Elementor, we saw that we did the accent and then we did a color called canvas black, canvas white, and canvas gray. So we go back into WPCodeBox. We see at the very top, here's our accent color. Okay, and then I say here in a note, this should always be the same as the accent color set under Theme Tools, Theme Options. Okay, so for that, let's go to Theme Tools and Theme Options. We're going to get into this later in this course, but this is where you set your accent color here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and set that while we're in here. There we go. Click Update. Okay, so that's that. So now at this point, our CSS accent color, we're just referencing it basically, matches what we have over here in Elementor, and it also matches in our theme tools. So now all three of these areas are lined up, thinking the same way, and that sort of thing. These are all these different shades I was telling you about. Okay, but we're just going to focus right now on the accent color, and then that canvas white, which is defined here, and then that canvas gray, which is defined here, and then right here, the next line is the canvas black, and everything matches up, right? Okay, so that is that. So what we're saying here, without being too nerdy, is we already know what the accent color is. This is actually set by default. It's already in, you don't need to call this again. We're in, because the theme already does it, right? With this right here. All I'm saying here is that now it's like a reference point. So now when you go in here and you say, whatever our class is, blah, 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 let's call it heading, whatever. And then I say color, then you can do variable accent, right? So all this is doing right here is just making this variable available to you for ease of use. Okay, that's what that's doing. Okay. What else can I tell you here? And as you see here, like all the colors are named consistently: canvas white, canvas black, canvas gray. But yeah, so that's how it works. And the beauty of this is, let's say you change your accent color down the road. Like, let's say you want it to be, let's see, whatever, like a red color. Let's just change it here. Well, this is a cool feature at WPCodeBox. I'll just show you this right here. So if you hover over the color, you can actually choose, it's got like a color picker built in. So if we choose this red, okay. So we now, as far as our CSS, our global CSS is concerned, we have now set red as our accent color. So then you don't need to go through all of your CSS and change this because you're using this variable. So now it's going to just take hold. So all you would do then is, okay, let's line all of these back up. So I want that red. So I would then go into my Elementor global colors, change my accent there. I would go into theme tools, change my accent there, boom. Now everything again lines up. It's just that fast, and it's all throughout the website, right? And then you would come in here and you would adjust these different shades, okay? So while we're looking at that, I'll show you how I do shades. There's a million ways to do it, but get back to this accent color there. Okay, there we go. We're just going to refresh this without saving so we don't change our accent color here. Okay, so that's back, and then we'll just refresh this so that's not saved either. Okay, so that's that. We've got our accent color set. We've got our main three or four colors set. And now how do I arrive at these different shades? You can actually do this within Elementor, okay? So, and this is actually gonna allow us to put some of those other colors in. So what if we wanted 5% lighter? So you can come over here in Elementor, you can grab your accent color, so just copy it, okay? Drop down here, and let's say, what did I call this? Accent 5. Let me make sure that's right. I'm looking at the Canvas site on the other, on my other browser tab here, window here. Yeah, so on this side, we kept it the same. There should be an accent 5. Okay, it doesn't matter. So let's just say I wanted to call this, let's see what we have here. Well, 10% lighter, okay? So let's just call this Canvas 10% lighter. All right, punch in your accent color, boom, and then this is actually going to give you the opacity, so that's not what I wanted to do here. So what I want to do is go to hex color tool. This is what I use. I'll show you the opacity here in a second. I was getting my stuff mixed up there. Okay. So I used to go use hex color tool, and like I said, there's tons of tools you can use out there for doing shades and whatnot. So I punch in my accent color here, and then I just usually do 10% increments. You can change this to whatever you want. And just to keep it simple, I do 10% increments, sometimes 5, depending. And then you just click this lighten button here. And then it's going to give you all of the shades over here. And again, we're trying to punch in our 10% lighter color. So we go over here. This is the 10% lighter color. And you just copy that. Okay, go back over here, plop that in, boom, 10% lighter. Okay, let's do 20% lighter. Or what else? Let's see what else we have in our CSS here. Yeah, 20% and then 30%. So let's add another color. Let's do this one is 20%. Go back over to the hex color tool, copy the 20%. Drop that in, boom. We start to see this color palette really build, and it's beautiful, okay? All right, so let's copy the 30%, punch that in. Cool, there's that. All right, so we've almost got a 1-for-1 match of our, what we have here in our color scheme, okay? And 5% lighter, we'll go ahead and do that one. So you come back here, like I said, instead of 10%, we'll change this to 5. Okay, now it's going to do it in 5% increments. We're going to choose lighten again. We're going to grab that 5% color. Go back over into Elementor, drop in that 5%. Change the title of that color to 5%. Okay. Then you can drag with Elementor, you can drag and drop the order. So I'm just going to pull this up here so they are in order 5, 10, 20, and 30. Now at this stage, we've built on the Elementor side, we've built it to match this. Okay. And this is also available from the club website, and there's no cost to get this color scheme. This is a free download to get this color scheme. Okay. So coming in here, let's say we wanted to change that heading color to be our accent color that's 5% lighter. You would just come in here and do var. And this is a feature of WPCodeBox version 2, which is included with all starter sites. The previous iteration of WPCodeBox, which is the 1.0 iteration, doesn't include this option, but version 2 has color variable support, which is what I'm showing you here. These are all color variables. Okay. Again, check out that video that I have on this whole thing and explains it more in depth. But you just put var and then in these brackets here like this, and then dash. And then what's really cool is that WPCodeBox is going to give you all of your variables right here. You can just choose. So we're going to choose accent 5. All right. Put your colon at the end, semicolon at the end. And yeah, just like that, we've now set the heading color to be accent 5. Now, if you want to change that to 10% lighter, just change that 5 to a 10. If you want it to be 20, change that to a 20, change it to a 30. And it's going to do it just that fast. Okay. And again, if you want to change later that your colors, you change it here. All you do is you change it here in one place, save your changes, and all throughout the site, anywhere that you use that CSS variable in WPCodeBox, it's going to change it instantly. Super, super cool. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. So that's that. And that's the reason this is a global snippet, right? And the reason I call it global is because this is stuff, colors, obviously. This is applying to the entire website. That's why I call it global. All right. This is the only place that I define the colors as far as CSS goes, other than the dark mode. So we can go ahead and cover that too real quick. So I like to drag this into the actual folder. So now we know that any CSS I add to the website that has to do with light mode is going to be in that folder. So now with Canvas, I created another folder called CSS dark mode. I must not have hit enter there. Sorry about that. CSS dark mode. Enter. There we go. So then I create another snippet. Global dark mode. Okay, same thing, CSS. We'll go ahead and make it an external file. We're going to load it in the front and footer for the reasons I explained earlier. We don't have any conditions we need to set because we're applying it to the whole website. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save my changes here. Now, the color scheme, regardless of whether it's light or dark mode, I kept it simple. Okay, so it's literally the same color scheme here, just to keep it simple. Boom, drop that in, save it. We're not going to enable it because, again, by default, Canvas is operating in light mode. What I am going to do is I'm going to drop this down into the dark mode folder. There we go. So if you ever want to flip-flop between the two, we're going to get into this other stuff later and continue to build out this snippet. But right now, the focus is just on the colors. One more time, we've set this here. We do not need to define our colors in the CSS anymore. We've set this over here in Elementor. We do not need to define this anymore. Anywhere else, I should say, you just make your changes in here and it's going to go all throughout the site. Now, what I'm going to do right now, just to finish this up, is add those other colors in here real quick. Since I've explained it, I'm just going to go really fast through here. And the reason I'm going to take the time to do this is because, again, we're replicating the site beginning to end, but because we're also not importing that site kit that would just pull all of this in for us automatically, we need to set this up. All right. So I'm going to set this up exactly like the starter site real quick. And if there's something I want to explain to you, then I'll do that. But otherwise, I'm just going to keep plopping these in. Okay. Canvas light gray is going in now. So this will be even a lighter gray than the one we have. And I'm going to drag this up here under, we'll go right below gray. That's fine. And it's going to copy that color from the other site. There is something else I want to show you. The opacity was that other piece that I needed to show you. All right, Canvas black 5. if I could type. You know what? I won't bore you with this, actually, now that we're doing this. I will do this after this video. I will pop all this in here. Let me just show you the transparent things, and then we'll get you out of here. So Canvas Black 5 is just 5% lighter. So if we look at our CSS here, so Canvas Black 5, we just see that it's defined there as 5% lighter. Now I could, maybe I will do that, is just come back in here and change this to Canvas Black 5% lighter. Might do that. I think the reason, yeah, this is actually the reason why I didn't do that. So I'll stick with what I did here. Canvas Black 5, it just doesn't fit in there. Even if you drag this out, Elementor doesn't allow that color, that name to expand. So that's why I did that, just to keep it all visible. So I'll go ahead and keep that. All right, so again, I'm not gonna bore you with all the colors. I'll load this in myself. You're not gonna miss anything. I'm just gonna copy the colors from the Canvas site into here. But what I do wanna show you is the transparency, okay? And this you can get from the same hex color tool. They have a transparent option. You just do this, you just slide this. So that's one way you can do it. And another way you can do it is with Elementor. So I'll show you that. So let's say we wanted to do this. Let's do our accent color with 50% opacity. Okay. So what did I call that over here on the starter site? Accent 50% opacity. And that's not all seen either, but you get most of the word here, which you're going to see. So I'm going to come in here. We're going to call this accent 50% opacity. It does fit there. So that's cool. Yeah, if you shrink it down all the way, it gets hidden, but you get most of it. Anyway, there we go. 50% lighter. And what you can do here is you can actually choose or punch in, your accent color. Do that, and then you click this RGBA option, and then change this number to whatever you want. You can also slide this over so you can start to get that decimal point built in. Again, we want 0.5, that's 50% to get that 50% opacity. So 0.5, just like that. Okay, so at this stage, we've got our accent color at 50% opacity in there, and we see that the color is 467 FF7 80. And let's go over here. 467 FF 780. So those match. Cool. So that's how you would do that. All right. That's it, guys. One more reminder. Once I get off this video, I'm going to set all of these colors up just like they are on the Canvas starter site. You're not going to miss anything. I've shown you how to do everything. And once we get into that next lesson, then our colors are all set. As far as CSS goes, setting them globally and setting our colors globally with Elementor, we will be ready to rock there. Let me do one more check and make sure I didn't set colors. I did set colors on the button, so let's go. We'll knock that down real quick too. Buttons, and I set now that our global colors are set, we can start to set this. So we just go in here and we choose accent for our background color of our buttons. And again, I didn't do any hover colors just to keep things simple and unopinionated. So up to you if you want to set that here. Okay, so we set that color, and let me check, see if I did any other colors. Nothing on the form fields. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. Okay, that's it. All right, guys, thank you for watching this lesson, and hopefully you learned something, and I will catch you in the next lesson. Thanks, guys.